Welcome back to Breaking the Barrier. Today, we are visiting with Alex Parsaye. She is a horsewoman and equine professional, and she oversees the Legends of Ranching program at Colorado State University. Alex, thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me, Rebel. I'm super excited to be here.
Well, you are very accomplished in many different arenas, literally and figuratively. But before we get into that, I would love for you to just kind of shed some light on where your love for horses began and how you got started in the equine industry.
Definitely. I do feel like the horse love is in your blood, and I was born to a family that did not come from an equine background or an agriculture background. While my father was getting his PhD at the University of Hawaii, actually, where I was born, he would often take me on these routes where he was training for triathlons. And on these routes, there were some rural type roads. There would be the horse facilities, and I would demand that if I was going to be pushed in the cart and go help him work on his triathlon training, that we would stop at these ranches and see the horses. And not really thinking anything of it, my family uh, decided to move to Laramie, Wyoming, big change, and realized that after taking me to a touristy type setup where you got to do some trail rides, that the instructor or the leader said, Alex seems pretty interested in the horses and seems to really have taken to it. I was 5 at the time, and directed my parents to some instructors around the area, and it was an obsession moving forward from there. And so I was raised in the Albany County 4-H, and I did do some Arabian breed shows growing up and 3-day evented in my early high school years. I then moved to Loveland, Colorado, and really found my passion for starting young horses under saddle and more of the ranch horse arena. So I've been pursuing that ever since.
Awesome. Well, it's really cool to hear your story and how supportive your parents must have been to provide you those opportunities early in life. But at what point did you decide, this is a really cool hobby, but this is something that I want to make my job?
I knew from the get go I really excelled in sports like soccer and volleyball. And when the decisions came down to pursue that at a college level, I definitely took a step back and said, I really enjoy my horses so much more, and pursuing horsemanship, which is kind of a scary decision to make and a difficult industry to be in. So my parents continued to support me and say, "Okay, I we're here for you, and if you still need to go to college and go to higher education, and if you want to pursue the equine degree at CSU, that's wonderful." So that's what I did.
Awesome. So obviously you are very involved with Colorado State University today in your current role, but how did your experience as an undergraduate help you in finding your way back?
I absolutely loved my undergrad time at Colorado State and pursuing the equine science degree. I think a lot of students have questions about where that can take them after college. And I was already a part of 2 companies. One was my own horse training company, and I was partnering in another. Those 2 ended up helping me get through college, and so I wanted to add some credibility to that with my equine science degree. And so I graduated, continued on with my own businesses, and the job opportunity arose a couple of years later. But that was about the time that I was starting to create a family. I was pregnant with my twin boys, and it was not the right time for me to take on the job role. And I was familiar with the Legends of Ranching and the colt starting instructor position from being in the sales class, which I'll talk about more, that is combined with the colt starting class. So I didn't do the colt starting class, but I did the sales class and became very passionate about the program through that. And from there, I, a couple years after the job opening, the original job opening, it came open again. And I, at that point, had my daughter and was done with creating my little family and had the opportunity to go for the job, not thinking honestly that I was going to get it. And it was a long summer of working really hard towards that goal and ended up getting the job.
Wow, super cool. Well, for people who are unfamiliar, can you just fill us in on what the Legends of Ranching program is and what you do throughout the year?
I will not do our program justice with words. It is such an amazing and unique program that Colorado State University offers our equine science students. In the fall, we are bringing in young horses from established and elite ranches across the country. Um, and these breeders have been creating these horses through generations and are offering up these young horses for us to train over a 9-month period. So in the fall, I have this year, 22 students and 3 teaching assistants from my previous year that are going to start a young horse under saddle and fit them up for sale in the spring. And in the spring, there is a sales class that is separate from the colt starting class, and they learn how to put on a horse sale. And so they're producing the sale that my young horses and students will go through. And so I do all of the instructing on starting the young horses under saddle, and then my coordinator, Dr. Devin Catalano, oversees the entire Legends of Ranching sale.
Wow, that's pretty neat. So take us through once these students receive their horse for the year, what does the structure of the program look like? Or, how do they receive feedback on the colt starting process?
It's a really rewarding program where I have students coming from all different kinds of backgrounds, and they are learning a foundation. They're learning how to put a foundation on these young horses that will carry these horses into their future. And through me guiding them, I offer time with outside clinicians that offer the same kinds of training that I am guiding through, and they get to meet those professionals that are a lot of times in our area and connect with industry, not only through the clinicians that come in, but through the fall and the spring, they are connecting with the consigners of these young horses. And at the end, through the student competition, the preview and the sale, a lot of times these students will gain job offers from these consigners, from the clinicians, and really have an opportunity to network with top professionals in the industry that you wouldn't be able to receive anywhere else. And the feedback that these students often get a lot of times are from their family support towards the end in the spring when they're starting to put their horses through the fitting process and get ready for the student competition. The families are coming in, the consigners are coming in, the public is coming in, also proud of them and watching all of their hard work. And the biggest reward is, sadly, the emotions are high through the sale. They're letting go of a young horse they've worked with for 9 months, but that feeling of beginning to end accomplishment and selling their young horse through that sale ring.
Yeah, a really cool experience, no doubt. So, how did these students become eligible to be a part of this program?
This program requires a higher level of ability, and in the spring each year we hold riding tryouts at CSU. And I am in the middle of the arena with a lot of our wonderful equine instructors who are also looking at students for their classes. And I am able to evaluate each student that is coming in for the Legends of Ranching program and see that their riding ability is able to be transferred into my class. And I recently, as a new instructor, decided that I am raising the expectations for my students and their riding ability. To start a young horse is not easy, and I think that having the foundation of good riding is a great starting point. And so the students coming in to my class this year were all able to show everything. They walk, trot, lope on a certain horse. And sometimes we strategically pick a horse, a school horse at the school or something that, rides like a young horse or isn't very well trained, and they have to manage and go through the process of the tryout and show me that they're capable of being able to come into my class. And so I had 16 students my first year, 2023 to 2024, and we have 22 this year that were able to pass in. And that's not to say that I had 40 entries that were capable of coming into my class. And I start with the seniors, and I work my way down because seniors will graduate. And so this is their last opportunity to come into a class like this. And so you'll definitely see more seniors and juniors within the Legends of Ranching program versus the sophomores and freshmen.
Most definitely. Well, throughout the 9-month period that these students have these horses, what kind of benchmarks are there throughout the process, or what's the check-in process like for individuals to see how they're getting along and how their horses are getting along?
There is, oh, you're gonna hear my dogs in the background because when you live on a ranch, there a lot of there are a lot of personal and individual paths for each of my students, and not every colt and young horse is alike. I have advocated this year, which I think is an important thing to mention, that I bring in 2-year-olds coming 3-year-olds or older. A lot of the years in past, we've gotten yearlings to 2-year-olds, and I feel that we will be more successful and meet better milestones with the twos coming threes. And so this year, I'm blessed to have a whole group of twos coming threes. I believe I might have one yearling, but this enables me to have a equal playing field for all of my students to have that same age and maturity across the board. And I have students from so many different backgrounds and abilities and confidence levels that a lot of it is on their time and on their schedule between them and their horse. And I really advocate for that. I do, in the first couple of months of class, really evaluate partnerships. So this year we're getting all of our colts at the same time versus my year prior, we were getting colts kind of through the couple of months into fall after school started, and they have to undergo a 2-week quarantine. So even though they came in, they still undergo a 2-week quarantine, and a lot of the students haven't been able to meet them or work with them. So I'm really excited this year. We have all of our colts coming in at the same time. All of the students will be able to work with all of the colts, and I have them give me their top 3. And I really evaluate the best match for both of them through that process, which seems to really be a fun thing for the students. I think that they start to get very territorial and they
Like
want,
speed dating.
yes, yes, and they very quickly fall in love with a particular young horse, and that is the horse that they get for the year. I don't switch them out. I don't change things unless there is a huge need or a mismatch that just isn't going to work.
Yeah, most definitely. Well, kind of what piqued my interest, I had heard of the Legends of Ranching program before, but I hadn't really dug very deep until Gary and Glenda Phipps of Phipps Quarter Horses in Whitman, Nebraska. They had posted about sending a few horses your way for the program. How do you build relationships with ranchers and breeders who want to be a part of the program?
I personally had a connection with Gary and Glenda before being hired on to as the CSU Colt starting instructor. I always had them in the back of my mind and other ranches that I have started young horses for in my career, or I have met their young horses. I've worked whatever the connection may be. So through this year of me being a first time instructor and the program had taken a year off, we had consigners that for one reason or another didn't have a 2-year-old to send us. We took a jump year and they just didn't have the horses to send. So I started putting my thinking cap on of the elite ranches that we have close by that really would be a great addition to the program. And so Gary and Glenda spent some time at the CSU Equine Center with Dr. Catalano and I, talking with us, having meetings with us. They came to the sale. They wanted to see how the colts. They want to see how the colts looked, how they sold, how the students did with them in the student competition and preview, and they were blown away and decided we are going to have some young horses for the program in the upcoming year. So I am super thankful and blessed to have Gary and Glenda's young horses from their program. And through the connections that we have already, we have very established consigners that we've had since the inception of LOR. And those consigners, they know consigners and know other ranches that would love to be a part of it. But we're building back up from a couple of years through the program that were a little inconsistent. And so I'm really excited to see how we can get some established new consigners in, as well as bring back some prior consigners that we really miss.
For sure. Well, to me, this seems like a very mutually beneficial relationship between the students and the ranchers who bring their horses to be trained in this program. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
From this prior year, I'm thinking to all of my students that ended up going to work for some of my consigners and how well they're doing now. Mutually beneficial, hugely. They get some of their young horses trained and debuted through CSU, maybe really showing off their breeding program and what they produce to a different audience. All the while knowing that they're offering an opportunity for a student they may have not gotten anywhere else. And so it's a really, really cool opportunity. We do social media, advertising in a sense, or look at, the Phipps quarter horse filly 3 months into the program, her first saddling, her first ride with student so and so. And it's really a fun connection for everybody.
Most definitely. Well, starting a colt on your own and teaching others how to do it is kind of a different experience for sure. What was the transition like for you from training outside horses independently to instructing younger students how to do the same thing?
I could say there might not be that many jobs as hard as teaching someone to start a young horse under saddle. It is a world in its own, and my top priority has always been safety. And so from my experiences starting young horses on my own, I have had a lot of interns or assistants or people interested in learning how to do that over the years that are either affiliated with an internship from a college, maybe they're a high school student wanting more experience. I've had a lot of people in my arena that I have helped guide into starting young horses and good horsemanship. I have never had 16 to 22 of them at one time, and all, college age from different backgrounds. It is a beast of a class, and I it gives me goosebumps to do something like this. I love to pass along my passion for good horsemanship, and the talent that comes through my class is undeniable. These students are incredibly great equestrians that maybe have never started a young horse or want to refine their skills starting young horses. And with safety at the forefront of the entire class, it really is so rewarding, and it's difficult, but very, very rewarding. And I look forward to this upcoming year.
Super cool. Well, is there a specific student or story that comes to mind when it comes to how rewarding your job is? Is there a particular story that you point to?
I can't point to a particular student. I have such amazing young women and one gentleman last year that really poured their heart and souls into their young horses and the 9 months of training. And I love seeing the dedication and the love for the horse that comes out in these students. The perseverance. You go through so many highs and lows over 9 months of raising these colts through this program of training and fitting. In the spring, it's an army of bathing and new life in a stall, and how to manage the nutrition and behavior of these colts as they start to get fitted and feel good, and the connections that I see my students and young horses make between each other is probably my favorite story of it all. And watching horsemanship unfold, and knowing that this will carry on and help them in their careers, whether they go to be a veterinary technician, or they're, equine reproduction um, specialist, where they're handling pregnant mares or mares with foals. I know that they're going to go out into the world and have these skills to keep themselves safe and keep other people safe through understanding their horsemanship and equine behavior.
Hmm. So, as a lifelong horsewoman yourself, how would you describe horsemanship?
I believe that horsemanship is the pursuit of understanding horse behavior, and that welfare of the horse is always the forefront of the mission, and striving to always be a better horseman. You have to make mistakes to learn what is better for the horse, and to watch my students become softer and softer in their ways, and be able to achieve so much more, yet set boundaries when they need to set boundaries, but setting those boundaries in a way that makes sense to the horse, that doesn't come from emotion, is really requires students to tap into their own abilities to control their attitude and their emotions through these sessions and through this time around horses. And it's horsemanship, I believe, is an art and a dance through the teams and the horse and handler that you see during the day. It's just, there's almost no words for it, but I truly believe that to learn equine behavior at its core is to be a good horseman.
No doubt. Well, you mentioned earlier the Legends of Ranching sale that takes place and the sales class that accompanies that. Can you shed some light on some of the behind the scenes things that it takes to put on a horse sale every year?
To put on a horse sale is to end the last sale and start prepping for the next one. And Dr. Catalano and I take such pride in the Legends of Ranching sale and what it has meant the past decade plus to so many people. And it was both of our first time in our positions. And we start out the day after the sale, like I said, starting to plan for the next one. And in the fall, there is a prerequisite class for the sales students. And they touch in on producing events for the equine industry. And if those students really enjoy it, they get a foundation in that class. They then sign up for the sales class in the spring that puts on the Legends of Ranching performance horse sale. What I love about the two classes is they come together as one, because some of the students from the sales class get paired with some of the young horse training students, and they work on projects to market these young horses through social media, through um, uh, flyers, through so many different ways to say, okay, this is how we market these young horses. This is what the young horses should look like in a video and in photography. They help with our catalog that we produce, and the whole structure of putting ads, and writing catalog notes, and where should we put this 3-year-old gelding versus this 2-year-old mare. There's a lot of logistics with the sale of, if you're the first hip out, if you're the last hip out, you want to make sure our consigners are happy with what we are producing. So there's a lot of communicating there. And what I loved towards the end and going into the sale this last spring was that our sales students, you would see them with dirty rags and brushes, and really cleaning the horses up for the colt training students right before they entered the ring, and then cheering them on in the ring. And so there's a lot of connections made between the classes. And those students that are in the sales class, they have to put on every aspect of this sale and really find passion in doing that. And it's a lot of work. We're working on it right now.
Most definitely. Well, you teach these young people new things every single day, whether that be training or on the marketing side of things. But what has been the most valuable lesson you have learned from your students?
I have learned an incredible amount from my students, and I watch them persevere, and they persevere through so many different aspects. I had a young horse that had to be pulled from the sale from a lameness 3 days before, and
Mhm.
persevere through a shattered dream of not being able to compete in the student competition and show off what they've done for 9 months. And that just, it breaks my heart. But to see them find value in the process versus just the outcome is something that I really work on in my life. Is it's the process, and not the end goal that means the most. And I really, I work on that every day.
Most definitely. Well, but we're kind of rewinding a little bit, but who are some of your greatest mentors or people who have really been influential to your own horsemanship journey?
I am going to, again, I'm going to rewind with you from the beginning. And this might be a little different than what most people would say, but the most influential people for me have been the people that have supported me through my equine endeavors my whole life. I have ridden with top of the line horsemen and trainers and industry professionals, but I wouldn't have been able to do any of that without the support of my family and my friends and the people through the 4-H system, and the my trainer through 3-day eventing. It's those, it's the people behind the scenes that I feel create the foundation for success. And so I have to say it's been my family and my husband and everybody in between that has really been influential in my success.
So if people are listening to this and they're inspired, whether they have been involved in the equine industry their whole lives or recently got started, and they don't necessarily have access to a collegiate program like the Legends of Ranching program per se, and they want to start to start a colt for the first time, what would be some big picture advice that you would offer that individual?
You got to hustle, you have to have work ethic, and you have to be uncomfortable. You got to be broke, and you got to want it. The horse training industry is one of the most difficult industries out there, and you have to start at the bottom. If that means you have no money but you have a car and an apartment, drive to all the barns that you can find and say, do you need a hand? Can I clean stalls? Can I exercise horses? Put yourself out there. Don't message on Facebook. Don't text a barn. Show up, and start from the bottom where we all start there. I My barn is run by a team, but sometimes my team isn't here, and I'm out there scraping my stalls and doing the dirty work like I was at the very beginning. And you have to start there to understand how the industry works. And you have to want it, and you have to hustle. I told my students for a long time I didn't have any money in undergrad, and I had my parents' trailer, luckily, and I would look for little ads on Facebook that said, I need my horse transported from Windsor to Wellington, which is about a 45-minute drive at most. And I would contact them and I would say, here's what I'm going to charge. I can do this for you. And all those little side jobs and things that nobody else wanted to do, I started meeting people, gaining connections, and really finding, hey, I know you transported my horse for me, but can you ride for me? And then all of a sudden my bank account started growing a little bit, and I was able to purchase a young horse or get practice starting young horses for someone else. And you have to be creative and strategic. It's not handed to you in this industry.
Well, building on that wisdom, you have a unique experience in that you really dove headfirst into the equine industry, where your parents weren't necessarily involved. What advice would you give another first generation horseman or cowgirl for that matter?
I would say a lot of the same. Find your niche, and sometimes you have to find your niche in the horse industry by trying many different things. And maybe you want to be a western pleasure trainer, maybe you want to be a cow horse trainer, maybe you just want to exercise horses for somebody and build on those experiences and really it can be hard for you might feel like there's eyes on you that are judging you and where you've come from and you don't have the abilities yet, but turn your head away from that and see your goal that you want to have with the horses, or and hustle through the process and really work for it. Don't worry about what anybody thinks. There are so many opportunities out there that if you show up and just say, "Hey, my name is so and so. Do you need any help here at your barn? I'm just looking for experience." You'll be surprised the doors that open for you. And through Colorado State University, the ability to come experience some of the classes that I teach and get involved through connections there. It's all about networking in the equine industry and making these connections and going from there.
Most definitely. Well, we've covered a lot of ground today. Is there anything else you'd like people to know, either about yourself or about the Legends of Ranching program?
I I could go on about the Legends of Ranching program. Is a, it's at the forefront of these students' decisions sometimes to even attend Colorado State University. And there is so much self-fulfillment through this program that is beyond just the horsemanship. And I am always looking for support for these students where that, you know, sponsorships to help them win a buckle, place through the student competition. We provide awards for them, and I would love more involvement from the community to offer, placings to sixth place. This last year we were able to award just the champion and do placings below that to about third place, but I would love to find more opportunity for these students to earn something through the program at the end that really gives them something to hold on to.
Awesome. Well, Alex, this has been such a fun conversation. Thank you for taking the time to visit with us today and to share all of your wisdom.
Thank you so much, Rebel. I really appreciate you having me on today.